So do you think the answer to treating cancer is radiation and chemotherapy? Do you think that is the best choice?
I think it's the best option so far.
Okay.
Discovered.
Okay.
But
I think you're brainwashed by the pharmaceutical companies.
I'm open to changing my mind about it.
Okay.
If given good reason.
Yeah. So start reading.
Okay. So what I do here is I like to chat with people about really anything.
Okay.
Preferably some topic that you really think is true, that you could give reasons for, that is really true regardless of people's preferences or opinions, something that's true for everyone. And anything like that come to mind? I could give suggestions.
I don't know. Everything's an opinion, don't you think?
Is everything an opinion? Every belief?
I think so.
Okay. We could talk about that if you want. Or something else.
Is everything an opinion? Maybe not. Maybe some things aren't an opinion. Gravity isn't necessarily an opinion.
Right. Like, is it, if I drop this and someone has the opinion, it'll go up?
Yeah, that's not true.
That's
so
not
everything isn't an opinion. Okay, you've changed my mind already.
Okay, cool. So
perhaps like religion.
Religion.
Religion is an opinion.
Is any religious belief a matter of opinion?
That's a difficult question.
Do you have any religious beliefs?
My religious belief is that whatever you believe as your religion is acceptable. Except if you're killing people in the name of your opinion. I disagree with that. So, for example, is a Jewish person more correct than a Catholic person, more correct than a Buddhist person? No, I don't. Everyone's correct.
Everyone's correct. Is that true?
In my opinion. So that is an opinion.
Okay. Is your opinion accurate?
It's just my opinion. So I guess opinions are like microcosms. It's a collection of how you were raised, how you were taught, and how you were self-taught. So, for example, if you were raised as a Catholic and you decide maybe that's not all there is, that's a microcosm. I'm going to investigate other religions, and you can see, well, I can see how that could be true for that individual. This is a circular. Living inside of my brain is pretty hard because a lot of my arguments are circular.
We can take our time to think about it. So, religious beliefs. Do they all make the same claims about reality?
I wouldn't say that I could answer that for sure because I don't think I know all religions. So I know many of the larger religions. So
like, could there be one God and many gods at the same time?
Yes.
Are all gods the same God?
Possibly. I just think it's the way people define the universe. So how do you make sense of the universe? The microcosm of space and time. So can you say to me it's one God? Sure. Can you say my brain can't grasp that? It makes more sense that there is a God for, this, that, and the other. That makes sense too.
So we use gods to understand stuff.
Define our world, and we're in our space in it.
How does our beliefs in gods relate to the actual case of stuff, like the universe?
Right.
Like
where did we come from?
Yeah.
Like how does the world exist?
Yeah. Is giving God an answer to anything correct?
I think it depends on the individual and what motivates them or what defines them in their space. Because some people that don't believe in God at all, I still think if you sat down and talked to them, they would still tell you what they think defines their space and time. But ultimately, they don't want to call that God, but would someone else say, well, this is what makes me tick, or this is what, motions my world, someone else may say, well, yeah, but that's God. But it's not their definition of God in a religious sense.
So, do you think a God exists at all?
Yes.
Could I get a sense of your confidence that that's the case? On a scale from like 0 to 100?
For me, yes, it's 100.
For you, 100%.
Yeah, right.
All right. 100%. So,
My husband's sitting over there saying, boy, this is similar to all arguments that we have.
okay. So, this is the claim. Now we can talk about your reasons why.
Okay.
What is like the main reason why you believe that to be the case?
Because however you define God, whatever your definition of God is, something triggered the creation of billions of galaxies and the universe, and there was some impetus. So if you say God is energy, then.
Okay. So explanation for the creation, that's one reason why?
Right.
Okay. And if you found out another explanation that didn't have to do with gods, that you could accept to your satisfaction of how the world or the universe can come to be without a god.
Well, that depends on what your definition of God is. So, for example, we just were having the discussion that maybe God really is dark energy and dark matter. So, in a religious context, someone might not say that. Well, that's not God. Well, who's to say that isn't God? That's why I think it's a circular argument to say.
We could define God as this pen and see the pen and believe a God exists.
Yeah,
right?
but I don't know. That's different.
It's
so
different.
To me, if it's energy or it's something like a trigger for larger existence.
A trigger for larger existence.
Like if you're and it's hard for me to think about this because I've tried to think about it. So nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing could change. What do you
Nothing. Just think about what is nothing. So what is that? If you can define it, then it's something. But so if you're reading, I absolutely sound like a crazy person, right? So if you're reading about what the trigger is of, like, I know it's true though. If you're thinking about like the trigger for the small bit of matter that expanded infinitely to create,
So one hypothesis for that trigger is a god.
Is a god, but that also depends on what your definition of a god is. Some people say, well, that's energy. Well, how do we know that's not God? See, that's what I'm saying. It's an individual. It's truly individual.
Could that trigger be something that's not a god?
Like, give me an
Or
example. Give me an example.
I don't know. Other universes? Or there's no need to trigger it at all? I don't know.
Well, the hypothesis was that there was nothing except a dot of energy before something triggered the Big Bang and the explosion and the infinite expansion across all time and space.
Yeah, there's the hypothesis that nothing was there and then something came in.
Right.
There's also a hypothesis
We've always been here as we are.
There's always been stuff.
There's always been stuff.
So, and no God required. So, how can we tell which one is more accurate in there?
What is true for you?
What do you mean by that?
So that's what we were actually having this discussion. If people say, well, they're completely agnostic and they don't believe in God, they just believe, maybe they do believe in the Big Bang, and that some energy, some force was applied to make it explode and make everything that exists now as we know it created. So some people would say, well, that's energy, that's not God. And some people would say, okay, it's energy, but who is that person to say that wasn't God?
I'm interested in how people can know whatever.
Right. So I think it's just like a universal question.
Yeah.
That each person has to define.
How do we know God exists?
Yeah, how do we know?
Yeah. Do we know
How do
at
we
all?
know?
Yeah, how do we know?
Well, for an agnostic person, they're convinced that it doesn't, so maybe it doesn't exist for them, but it does exist for me. So we're all each our own little individual microcosms of opinions and, the forces of nature and experience on your individual brain.
Can God exist
He can both exist
and
and
not
not
exist
exist.
at the
Yes,
same time?
absolutely.
Why do you believe that?
Just because I can't, what my experience in life isn't someone else's experience in life.
How does our experiences as humans relate to the fact of a God existing or not?
Well, I think it's ultimately true. What you believe is true.
How does what we believe or our preferences relate to external reality of us?
I don't know, because lots of things are a reality for an individual person that is not true for someone else.
Like there are some
Okay,
Tic
but
Tacs in
that's
the
gravity.
box.
That's gravity. I think that's not. But I think God
Yeah.
is more nebulous.
Does God
as
exist
term.
like these Tic Tacs?
To me, yes. To somebody else, perhaps no.
How can we tell which one is more accurate in their beliefs?
I don't think religion can be defined as accuracy.
Do you care if your beliefs are accurate? And by
If they're accurate for me
what do you
and
mean?
how I relate to
Yeah.
things and people around me, but I couldn't force someone else to believe the way I believe.
Yeah, not about forcing. Everyone has the right to
Everyone
believe
has the right,
whatever.
or not. I don't even know if you could define well, the right, certainly, but what most people believe is they're a product of their existence and forces on that, living and growing and reading and traveling and experiencing other people and other ways of thinking about things.
Yeah. I'm interested in like our beliefs about external reality to ourselves, our own minds. Would it be preferable to have our beliefs about that be accurate and not inaccurate?
But, right. So, yes. However, I mean, this is like I guess it's just really a hard question for me because if you have something that is, for example, gravity, that's pretty impactful to believe that it doesn't exist and jump off of something and think that you're going to go up. But we all know you're going to hit the bottom and you're not wearing a parachute. You're going to die. So that's different to me than something more, I don't know if I want to call it extraneous, but, like not as definable.
Is there a way to test this belief like gravity is testable?
I think one day we'll know, perhaps, but then I still think it's going to depend on the person's definition of God. What is your definition of God?
Yeah. What do you mean by God?
What do you mean by God? Right? Is it a force? Is it an energy? Is it, what motivates people for good or bad?
Is there a way to tell if it's real, whatever that is?
I guess if it's real to you, like what is your ultimately if your definition of God shapes your life from, can't say birth because we're certainly not born knowing or believing or thinking that there's even a God. That's an external force that's kind of presented to you. Although, just think about ancient man. They looked for ways to define like the setting of the sun and the moon passing across the sky. And so they attributed, the power of the gods to nature because they didn't have any other way of defining it. So perhaps, in 100 years from now, we'll say, oh, well, this is what, a merging of, science to a grander scale with someone's religion or whether there is a God or not.
Yeah. If people are attributing this energy and force to a God today, could people in the future look back and seeing us attributing that the
Right,
same way
maybe
people
say,
in
right.
the ancient world
Right.
attributed like the moon going
Right,
across the
right.
sky? And if that's the case today, would it be in our best interest to discard beliefs like that? or align our beliefs more accurately with reality?
I think it depends on the individual person, honestly.
Yeah. Do you care if your beliefs are true? By that I mean
Well, they're
correspond
true
with
to
reality.
me, so I don't. How
What do you mean by
you know,
true?
I mean, they're true. It's in my mind. Just if trying to define space and time is important, right? Like, where do we come from? To say that a certain energy was applied and that's why we're all here. No, lots of explanation between points A and B, but ultimately, what was the trigger? That's God. I mean, to me,
You're attributing God to that trigger.
right.
How do you know that's true?
I don't know that it's true, but I think that it's true.
Why would you believe anything like that you can't know? Why believe anything you can't know?
Oh, I believe lots of things that I can't know for sure.
Not for sure, but just with sufficient reason.
Well,
What's your
so in my mind, there has to be some force and some energy behind everything.
has to be why?
There has to be, there was something, I don't think it was just, it wasn't an accident. I don't think our creation was an accident. So
What kind of person would you be if you thought it was an accident?
that would be fine. I mean, I actually know many people that believe that, and I'm not in conflict. I don't, I'm not going to try to make them see my way about something. So
Yeah.
that's their
Yeah.
explanation. So it's true to them. So
If it wasn't a God, does it have to be an accident?
no, it could be. See, this is where I was saying like the definition of God is kind of fluid. So
Okay.
to say, oh, God lives, there's this person, this being, this form that looks like us and acts like us, and or we're in, certainly there's teachings out there that say we're made in His image, but I don't. What does that mean? Does it mean it looks like us? I mean, does it? I don't know.
So currently, did I get your sense of confidence 0 to 100 about this belief?
For
Yeah. Like 0 to 100, what's your sense of confidence that this is true?
100%.
100%? And you like, this amount of confidence mean you could not be mistaken about it?
For me, no.
For you, no.
Right.
Okay. Could anyone be mistaken about a God belief at all?
Short mental illness.
Like, are all gods true? Accurate?
I mean, it's like I don't know. I couldn't answer that for somebody else. I just couldn't. So if you were picture this, if you're two people are shipwrecked on a desert island, well, not a desert island. Hopefully they'll have water and trees, and they have a baby, and the only exposure to any type of religion is whatever the two parents believe, and maybe the parents don't believe anything. Well, then that child is going to grow up perhaps thinking, there's not really a God in a religious sense, that there's something makes the waves go, maybe God's gravity, maybe God's every natural force. Maybe that's God. There's not external influence, there's not TV, radio, that kind of thing. It's just that's what's true for that person on that island. And so different countries that believe differently, or
Is it really what's true, or is it just their...
how do we know what's true about anything aside from our own experiences and our own thoughts?
Yeah. Is there a way to figure out what's true at all?
In terms of God?
In terms of anything.
Oh, sure. If you drop those Tic Tacs, we're pretty sure that's gravity making it drop to the table.
Yeah. There's some way to test
There's
that.
some truths that I think could be tested, and other truths that are just internal, and you.
Yeah. And if we had an internal truth, does it matter if that internal truth is true?
It depends on what it is. If you think you can stop a car by stepping in front of it, likely you cannot. That's pretty important truth.
Does it matter if your beliefs are true for you?
Does it matter if my beliefs are true? I define my truth, I guess, as far as religion. So what I believe is true until maybe something, I go, oh, well, maybe that's not true. Some event may trigger me to change my mind, but
Does your defining of it make it the actual case?
does mine?
Yeah. Can you define things into existence?
As far as God, now I couldn't create I couldn't create this by thinking about it.
So, but you can for the God?
For me,
How does that make it real?
because that just kind of, here's our circular argument. What's true for you in religion is it's your truth.
Why does religion get that special
Well,
category?
because it's not something that's necessarily concrete. I can't pick this up. This
Yeah.
isn't Judaism. It's a belief. I think beliefs are just a little bit more complicated than that.
If it's not concrete, or we can't find anything that could demonstrate it to be the case or not the case, why believe it at all?
Well, just because we all seek to define like where we came from, or most people, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Does it matter what that answer is?
it can matter to individuals, I think. To the individual person.
Is everyone's answer to that equally accurate?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Like, some people think the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and we just kind of were poofed into existence.
Yeah.
Is that equally accurate? To the
Not for me, or
Okay.
for that individual person, yes, because that is what they believe, and that is how they're going to relate to all other people and the earth that they live on. So it's true for them.
Why is their belief accurate?
It's accurate for them, because if you have to exist with other people and space, in your space, in a defined space, whatever that defined space is. In order to get through day-to-day experiences for whatever individual, I also think that's what drives a lot of people. So it's what your thought is driving you in terms of experience and interaction with other humans, nature, whatever. So whatever you believe to be true for you is true in context of your...
Beliefs can inspire us to do things.
Sure.
Does it matter if those beliefs are true?
I don't guess I can. The question is hard for me to answer. I've met many people from many different backgrounds and many different religions, or no religion at all, and that is what allows them to. That kind of grade there helps them with the communication and how they feel they see their place in the universe or the world. That just helps them define. So I wouldn't say, someone's more right or someone's more wrong, because it's just what motivates you. What is your motivation? How do you define yourself in context with other people and the world around you, time, space, and all those things?
So it's not possible to be wrong in terms of religious beliefs?
Short of Christians have been wrong in the past. Even somebody that's a Christian somehow might not have missed the point that at some point in history we actually killed people in the name of, being Christian. And that's true of any religion. I'm not picking on any one religion. So are you saying, if you said, oh, these religious beliefs allow us to go in and plunder, no, I don't feel that's correct. That would seem wrong to me.
If it was actually true that a God existed and wanted us to kill people,
That wouldn't be it wouldn't be my truth.
And a God existed, and if you didn't do that, you would spend your eternity in like a hell if you didn't do that? Would that matter?
Well, I don't really believe in hell, so I don't know. That's hard
Yeah.
for me to try to put in any context. So
If hell is real, should we believe it?
if for people that I think that really are devout believers in hell, yeah, there's hells to be in for sure. Especially if you define them in your mind and you create them, sure. Because who's to say what happens to us when we die?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what that kind of goes back to the whole God thing. Like, how do you? I mean, if you're people, I've met many people that are devoutly religious, and it helps them color in the lines. So, like, if there's some big payoff at the end, like heaven, or there's some big punishment at the end, hell, it keeps them coloring in these margins where they may not, if they had no other definitions, they may not color in those lines.
What do you mean by coloring
Well,
lines?
so, if you think that, you know, karma. So if you say, oh, if I do something bad, I'm likely to be met with some bad things being done to me just based on my actions. Some people are like, okay, so I'm going to do good because I don't want to have bad done to me. And I'm not going to do bad to other people because I don't want bad things to be done. Treat other people as you would want to be treated. I think that motivates people to be good, or at least consider consequences of what they're about to do. I think that, and that is across a lot of religions, that whether you say that it's Christians or Jew, do the right thing kind of thing. That do the right thing. That that helps people make sense out of am I about to make a good decision or am I about to make a bad decision? Good and bad in terms of the consequences of that decision.
So we have beliefs that can be true or false, and some beliefs allow us to do things. Are true beliefs equally as likely to get us to do things as false beliefs?
Absolutely. And what's a false belief?
Yeah.
I mean,
A belief that's not a belief that
well, I can control this car and stop it with my mind. If you step in front of it, the consequences, depending on how fast the car was going, you're going to be dead because you probably can't stop the car with your mind. And so I know, there's, I hate to keep using the example, but mental illness where you are going to kill your children because you think they've been possessed by the devil, and you don't want the devil to escape, so you kill your kids. Well, certainly was that person's reality, that they thought that at that time, that was,
Yeah. Is reality something that can be personal? Or do we share a universal reality?
Yeah, I think we share a universal reality, but how you get to that and how that's defined obviously is not,
Yeah.
consistent across all.
Is that reality
individuals.
affected by our preferences or beliefs about it?
Oh, sure.
How
Absolutely.
so? How so?
So if the car example, if you believe that you can step in front of a car and be okay, the consequence is you're not going to be okay, and you're probably not going to still be here.
That seems like a failure of how our beliefs
Right.
can't change reality.
Right. Cannot change reality.
Yeah. So if we just believed a God existed, we can't change reality to make a God exist?
That's a good question. I mean, I think people that are, I've actually seen this before, people that were agnostic for the most part of their lives, and then they experienced something they thought was a true miracle, and they said, oh, wow, maybe there is a God. So what is the God? So, for example, a child that can literally think their brain tumor away.
Can that happen?
I think it can happen.
It seems like childs can have tumors and they can go away. How did we determine That
okay,
the thinking of it made it go away.
So, similar tumor that's treated with chemo and radiation, and the parents said they didn't want to, go that route, and worked with someone to actually explain to the child that the tumor was like a video game and that they controlled the spaceships. I know that's really weird, but it's a true story. That the child controlled the spaceships that shot the tumor. So there was a meditative period for several hours over many days, and upon rescan, with having no medication, they had the patho, so we know what the tumor was, and it's just not there. It's just gone.
And we're attributing their thoughts, their imaginations of shooting it with.
Well, can your
video
brain
games?
control your immune system? Sure. Sure it can. But, to teach a 6-year-old child this who doesn't really have in a larger context about, the effects of chemo and radiation and has not been raised with, necessarily a God. So, what did you say earlier? The kingdom of God is within you. So, can you control things like in your own body that you don't even realize you can? Sure.
Could something else have caused that tumor to go away besides the kid's thoughts?
Sure.
So,
is
how
it
do- how do
likely
we-
at
how
the
can we
size and
tell?
extent and where the location of that? Is there some other force? Sure. But no one's ever seen that before. So
We've never seen spontaneous remission of tumors?
I'm not sure, I certainly haven't seen every case across the entire world. And yeah, there has been spontaneous, but what was the spontaneous? Nothing's truly spontaneous. Something caused that. Something at a molecular level, anatomic level,
Yeah.
something caused that to disappear.
If we found out to our satisfaction that it had nothing to do with their thoughts or a God, would that have any effect on the confidence of
For me?
of a God existing? Yeah.
No.
So what would change your confidence about it? Is there anything?
Probably not. No, probably nothing. Short of maybe waking up in a Matrix type situation, realizing I'm not even actually experiencing this. This is all. And I would say, okay, so then that might not even change it.
Yeah.
So what is the God?
If this wasn't true, would you like to know that?
What that?
That a God exists?
No. Probably not.
So you could possibly be going throughout your entire life believing something that's not true?
It would have been true for me though.
What's the difference between true for you and delusional?
That's a fine line, don't you think?
Yeah.
Delusion's a fine line.
Can people
Which
have
one's true?
delusions?
Oh, sure they can.
Would you prefer not to have delusions?
I prefer not to have delusions that are going to harm me or other people in some way.
Yeah. Could it be possible this is a delusion?
Sure.
How could we tell?
I don't think we can.
Should we hold any beliefs that we can't tell if they're true or not?
If it helps define, if it gives your life meaning and how you relate to other people in a positive manner.
If someone came along with a belief that could give you better meaning and better relationships with people, would you want to discard this belief and go with that one?
Probably not.
So,
I like my cozy little space in reality, huh, babe?
So, is it really about that then?
Is it really about, what do you mean?
How you relate to people and having meaning? If something else could do it better.
I mean, I would be interested. I would sit down and listen to that person, but I still might not adopt that as my
Yeah.
ultimate reality.
Should people believe anything without good reason?
Probably not.
And what's a good reason to believe this?
What's the good word? So it's helped me throughout my life not kill people, honestly. So everyone in my
Actually
life
kill
that I
people.
have had,
Mhm.
either didn't, probably good reason actually, and probably could have, it kept me caught in the lines.
So it helped you in your life. Is that a good reason? Just because it helps you?
Good enough for me.
I guess good in this sense is good in the sense of
Positive.
it being true, like accurate or corresponding with reality. Shouldn't that be the
That's why I
first?
think religion can't be defined as accurate or inaccurate to me.
Yeah. So what's the advantage of holding inaccurate beliefs?
They're not inaccurate to that individual, though.
Why are they not?
Because it's what they believe, and you're a sum total of all your experiences and your interactions with everything from the day you're
Mhm.
born until you develop those beliefs, and then beyond that. So
Mhm.
I don't know what they experienced. I don't know what's true for them.
I don't understand how gods can be true for someone and not true for someone else if they're external to them, unless they're just thoughts or beliefs.
Well, that's what religion is. That's
So it has nothing to do with whatever outside of them. It doesn't have to do with the actual case.
it could, but I don't. I mean, how do you know?
Um, that's what I want to figure out
Yeah,
about
I don't know. When you
anything.
figure it out, you give me a call. I'll give you my card. You can tell me.
So
I,
yeah, I just wonder why people believe things without being able to test them. Because
there's lots of things that people believe without being able to test them.
and why do people believe those things?
I think it's the force of your experiences from the time you're born to
Yeah.
in whatever culture you're immersed
Hmm.
in, and whatever, maybe you're exposed to many different, or maybe you're, you know,
Yeah. I understand how they can come to the beliefs. I just don't understand why they would want to keep them or continue believing them. If there's
because it defines how they relate to other people and their earth, and that's why.
um, are there beliefs about that are actually accurate to reality?
So how would you know if I told
Like,
somebody, yes, there is a God, and you shouldn't be believing that there isn't?
like, like I use the beliefs about us having evolved to connect with other people, and that we're the same species.
Right.
That connects me with people, and that is testable and accurate.
Right.
And where we come
But
from.
what's the trigger?
What do you mean?
What's the trigger for us to have been here and created
I have
anyway?
no idea.
Exactly.
And I don't hold any beliefs about that because I have no way of knowing. So I just don't know.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think it is reasonable to consider that some force or action, or do you just think we've been here across all space, time, and continuum? Was there a singular or multiple events over a period of time where we came to be as we are now? Is that true?
I think we came to evolve
But was there a trigger?
billions of years ago.
Was there a trigger? Has the Earth always
Something,
been here?
the Earth has not always been here. It's only been
Okay.
here for about 4.5 billion
Okay.
years.
So then you would agree that there was some trigger
Going back to the Big Bang,
to the beginning.
something created the Big Bang. I have no
Something.
idea.
Yes. Okay. So energy. So what if someone's definition of God is really the trigger for all things?
I don't know why people would define it that way.
Why do people do what they do or think what they think?
It seems like that concept has other implications, which
Like, for example.
like afterlives and morality.
Yeah, but there's multiple people that believe multiple religions that aren't amoral, but they might not even be that closely aligned in terms of, you know, what do you need to do to get to heaven? Is there a heaven? Is there, there's all kinds of religions.
I just want to believe whatever is accurate so that I can navigate reality better or as best as possible so I don't harm myself using false beliefs. Or
So you give me an example of a false belief that you feel like would harm you in terms of
being able to think away cancer.
okay.
If I thought that and I got cancer, I may not seek out treatment that would give me a better chance of surviving cancer.
So do you think the answer to treating cancer is radiation and chemotherapy? Do you think that is the best choice?
I think it's the best option so far,
Okay. So,
discovered.
okay.
But
I think you're brainwashed by the pharmaceutical companies.
I'm open to changing my mind about it.
Okay.
If given good reason.
Yeah. So start reading. Start reading.
Okay. Well, thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
It's very nice.
Yeah, interesting. It's like
What'd you think
mental
of-
acrobatics.
What'd you think about it?
I liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I'm one that really can see all sides of any argument, or I feel like even if I thought this is a real concrete belief for me, change my mind. You know those change my mind tables? Yeah.
Oh,
change
yeah, I've
my
seen
mind.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, change my mind. Tell me something
Yeah.
I don't know or I've never heard of or never considered. Yeah, absolutely. Great.
Totally.
Love it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Now your
Thank you for
turn.
your time. Yeah.
You're like,
I like going to tacos.
Tacos, all right.